Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. On this channel we talk about everything entrepreneurship, business, finance, and a little bit faith related. So if that sounds interesting to you, feel free to stick around. So today we're actually going to talk about how you can start your podcast with little to no money. In this day and age, you can actually start a podcast and make a passive source of income from it. So if that's your goal, but you don't have a lot of cash, you don't have the equipment, then this video is going to be for you. If you guys don't know, I have my own podcast that you can listen to on Apple Podcasts and also on Spotify. It is called Everything Entrepreneurship by Kelhia Mayoka. And on my podcast, I talk about entrepreneurship and I touch on different topics. I give my tips and tricks on how to build and grow your business. What are the things that you can do at the very beginning and how do you scale up your business? So I talk about all these things in regards to my own experience because I'm also a business owner. So if you want to go and listen to my podcast, I will put a link down below. So in this video, I am going to show you exactly what I use, and I'm going to show you guys that you don't need a lot of fancy equipment just to get started. So without further ado, let's jump in. Okay, so the first thing that you'll need for your podcast is the actual equipment. And when I talk about equipment, I talk about a microphone. Now, if you don't have a microphone or you don't want to spend money on a microphone, but you do have a smartphone, especially if you have an iPhone, then you can actually record your voice on your iPhone, and that is actually a great option. You can use the built-in microphone from your iPhone if you want to, and I'm guessing that Android phones also have a built-in microphone, but it would be better to use an app. If you have an iPhone, then you'll find the app GarageBand on there, and this is an application that comes with all of the Apple products. So you can actually open up GarageBand and record your voice in that application. So if you don't have an iPhone and you have an Android phone, then you can just go and hop into your Google Play Store and search for another application that will help you to record your own voice. Now, I myself don't use my phone to record my podcast. I actually have a USB microphone. You guys, you don't need this if you don't want to spend money. I actually only have this because my husband is a musician and I would not be a good wife if I did not use his stuff. So that's why I'm using this microphone, and it's actually a microphone that is mostly used for podcasting, so I don't know why he has it. But that's the microphone that I use. It's actually the Devine 50 podcasting microphone, and it costs about 50 euros depending on where you get it from. I will try and link it down below for you guys who want to get the same microphone as I have. So the great thing about this microphone is that you can just hook it up to your computer because it's an USB microphone, and then you're good to go. So then you can basically start your recordings and go about your day. So that is a great thing about this microphone. You don't need any fancy software. Great for beginners. Now, if you want to get extra fancy with it, you can get an extra pop filter. This is something that you put in front of your microphone just to filter out those harsh sounds that you make when you talk, like the S's and the P's and the T's. Sometimes that can come across like that's very harsh. So if you want to be fancy, you can actually get those pop filters just to make your track or your podcast sound even better. So you basically just need a computer and a microphone or your phone, and then you can actually just get started. Now, the next thing that you need is a piece of software. If you're recording on your phone, as I said, then you'll just record on your phone. But I'm guessing that you also want to edit. So you want to take your track or whatever you recorded and get it on your computer and edit your whatever it is that you recorded on your computer. And for that, you need some kind of software. Once again, if you have any Apple products, if you have like a MacBook or an iMac, then you'll have GarageBand on your computer, and then you'll be able to edit everything and to do everything on your computer in GarageBand. Now, if you don't have an iMac or you don't have a MacBook, then you can actually go and download Audacity. It's a free piece of software that allows you to edit and to transform everything that you record, every voice recording, and even music, I think. And I also use Audacity. So I have an iMac which I use to do all of my things on. So I have GarageBand. I even have Logic Pro because, as I said, my husband is a musician. I haven't come around to using that, and I will in the future, but it's just to say that you can still start out with free software. Audacity, that is what I use, and that is what I'm still using at the moment. So I am going to start doing my podcast in Logic Pro, but it's really not necessary if you don't have the funds, because Logic Pro costs, I think, $300 or 300 euros for the program. So what I do is that I directly record my voice in Audacity. So I hook up my microphone to my computer, and then I record my voice in Audacity, and then I go back in and I edit my track, so my voice recording. What I do is I edit out all the parts that I don't need in my podcast, because I tend to blabber a lot. I make a lot of mistakes. So I cut all of those out, and then I actually go back in and I edit my voice. I make sure that my voice sounds nice. So I do all of that in Audacity. And if you guys want another video on how I adjust my voice recordings, then you can leave me a comment down below. I'll make a video about that. But basically, I just put some effects on it, and I do noise reduction, which is super important because you do not want any white noise in your podcast. That is so annoying to listen to when you have a podcast and there's a bunch of white noise in the background. You don't want that. When my track is actually done in Audacity, I export it and then I put it into Final Cut Pro. If you don't have Final Cut Pro, you can use any other filmmaker software that you have. I do this because I haven't found another way to do this, but I like to add music to my podcast in the beginning and in the end, and even during my podcast, because one, I feel like since I'm doing my podcast alone, I feel like it makes the podcast less boring. It also cancels out any white noise that would still be left, and I like the intro and the outro with the music, so that is why I do that. And I do this in Final Cut Pro. So when I export my file to Final Cut Pro, I put my music in there, and I actually do some white noise reduction again in Final Cut Pro. Now, the next thing that I want to touch up on is the environment where you film your, no, not where you film, where you record your podcast. You want your episodes to be clear. You don't want any white noise, and a lot of this white noise can be reduced by making sure that you film in the right environment. So I don't have a studio, so I film right where my computer is, and my computer is basically in the living room downstairs. It's next to the kitchen, which is why you can hear in my recordings, you can hear my deep freezer like buzzing and everything. So what I do is that I turn everything off, all the lights, everything that is plugged in, and then I also do my recordings either very late at night or very early in the mornings, because I just want to make sure that everybody in the house is asleep. Nobody is like going up the stairs or, you know, shutting doors, because you will hear that in my recording. I want to make sure that nobody is outside, you know, like taking their dog out, because you will definitely hear that in my recordings. You might actually want to know about how to get your podcast on these different platforms. So I was saying you might actually want to know, you know, how to get your podcast on these different platforms. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You actually need to get your podcast on a hosting platform at first. And there are different hosting platforms. Most of them are paying, so you have to pay in order to get your podcast out in the world. Buzzsprout and Podbean are two popular hosting platforms that people use to get their podcast out there, but there is one that is free, and that is Anchor, and you can put your podcast on there for free and then broadcast it to all of the other platforms. So if you're just getting started, Anchor is a great option. I think you can do your podcast on there, and if later on you decide that you want to hop back onto like a paying platform, then you can do that, and you won't actually lose all of your episodes. You can just bring your episodes over to another hosting platform. All right, you guys, I hope you liked this video. I think that in a brief manner, I talked about everything that I do in order for my podcast to get out. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and then I'll talk to you in my next one.